Students, good morning. Today we are going to explain the passages of the lesson Discovering Truth. The saga continues. The first passage begins from here. He was just a teenager when he died, the last heir of a powerful family that had ruled Egypt and its empire for centuries. He was laid to rest, laden with gold, and eventually forgotten. Since the discovery of his tomb in 1922, the modern world has speculated about what happened to him, with murder being the most extreme possibility. Now, leaving his tomb for the first time in almost 80 years, Tut has undergone a CT scan that offers new clues about his life and death and provides precise data for an accurate forensic reconstruction of the boy's pharaoh. Dear students, let us have some of the meanings of the passage. Heir means here inheritor or successor. Laden means loaded. Speculated means form a theory without evidence. Tomb means an enclosure to bury the dead. Forensic reconstruction means the process of recreating the face of an individual. Pharaoh means a ruler in ancient Egypt. Now let us try to know the explanation of the above passage. Tutankhamun, also known as Tut, was a teenager when he died. He was the last successor of his powerful pharaoh dynasty, which ruled Egypt and its empire for centuries. He was laid on rest, heavily loaded with gold. His tomb was discovered in 1922, which made the world raise a question about what had happened to him and whether he had been murdered. After almost 80 years, his body was about to undergo a CT scan, which would give new information and clues about his life and death. His face would be recreated with the help of a procedure called forensic reconstruction. Now, next para is an angry wind stirred up ghostly dust devils as King Tut was taken from his resting place in the ancient Egyptian cemetery known as the Valley of the Kings. Dark bellied clouds had scudded across the desert sky all day and now were veiling the stars in casket grey. It was 6 p.m. on 5th January 2005. The world's most famous mummy, gilded headfirst into a CT scanner, brought here to prove the lingering medical mysteries of this little understood young ruler who died more than 3,300 years ago. Stirred means move or cause to move slightly. Ghostly means airy and unnatural or unreal. Resting place here means the grave. Cemetery means a large burial ground. Dark bellied means dark in color. Scudded across means moving quickly, or it refers to the movement of the dark bellied clouds. Veiling means here to cover something. Casket means a small ornamental box or chest for holding jewels, letters, or other valued objects. Casket grey means here that the grey clouds were like a grey colored casket which contained the stars. The stars are like jewels which are kept in a casket. Casket means a kind of box, okay. Gilded means here quite continuous motion. Glided means here probe means to investigate, find out. Lingering means long lasting. Now let us have the explanation. A fast, strange, and unnatural wind was blowing as King Tut's body was taken from his grave called Valleys of the Kings, an ancient Egyptian cemetery. The location of the Valley of the Kings is given in the image. Dark clouds moved quickly across the desert all day long and later they covered the stars. On January 5th, 2005 at 6 p.m., King Tut's mummy, which is the world's most famous mummy, was placed in the CT scanner to investigate the mystery behind his death, which had occurred more than 3,300 years ago. All afternoon, the usual line of tourists from around the world had descended into the cramped rock cut tomb some 26 feet underground to pay their respects. They gazed at the murals on the walls of the burial chamber and peered at Tut's gilded face, the most striking feature of his mummy shaped outer coffin lid. Some visitors read from guidebooks in a whisper, others stood silently, perhaps pondering Tut's untimely death in his late teens, or wondering with a shiver if the Pharaoh's curse, death, or misfortune falling upon those who disturbed him was really true. Descended means moved or gathered, cramped means very small to fit into, rock cut means made in a rock by cutting it, gazed means to look in surprise or in admiration. Murals means a painting or other artwork executed directly on the wall. Gilded means covered with a thin sheet or coating of gold. Striking means prominent. Whisper means to speak in a low voice. Pondering means think about something carefully. Now let us have the explanation of the above passages. All afternoon, tourists visited the 26 feet deep underground rock cut tomb to pay respect to the king. Many people stepped into the small tomb and looked in admiration of the murals on the walls of the chamber and took a look at the face of Tut that had been painted with gold. While visitors read the guidebooks in a hushed tone, some stood silently, wondering about his untimely death in his teen years. They might also be wondering if the curse of the Pharaoh, which leads to the descent of misfortune upon the person who disturbs him, is true. So, dear students, further explanations will be made in the next lecture. Thank you.